Hey guys, and welcome back. If you are new to my channel and my podcast, my name is Jenny. I'm a real estate agent out of Utah with JennyProRealtor.com, and I am associated with the Better Homes and Gardens brokerage. Today in this episode, we're going to be going over the Utah housing forecast for 2023, straight from the Board of Realtors of Utah, and understanding the statistics and numbers that we have off the multiple listing website, and bring it all in here to know if you should move or sell this year. Make sure you pay attention. Coming up. All things real estate, where we dive into how to manage real estate processes, get tips on building an investment profile, create space for how to build a passive income, and most of all, how to navigate all things real estate. Here is your host, Jenny ProRealtor, who went from being a single mom to building an empire with over $1 million in assets in real estate. She is our expert, a twin plus one mom, and relates to the average income holder to how to build their empire and grow wealth in real estate. I am so glad that you're here. Lots of things that we want to cover. 2022 was a massive roller coaster for the housing industry, especially in Utah, because we have a lot of population increases. We had a lot of new builds coming in, and we have a housing shortage and a lot of demand that was created during the COVID years. Now we got to reflect back in the years to understand what was going on and what created the issue that we are in today. Now I wouldn't define it as an issue, but the numbers will definitely tell you a story. So during the COVID times, we know the interest rates dropped. We know that the stimulus checks were being sent out. We had a lot of job losses. In fact, we had the fastest job loss in the year of March of 2020, where COVID hit. And we've actually been trying to come back from that. And we also saw a huge influx of people wanting to purchase homes, which was all good for the economy. The economy was going well. People were able to qualify, but our interest rates were extremely low, which caused the housing prices to go up because people were able to qualify for more. Now we're seeing a huge difference of recession. We are definitely in a recession by definition. We definitely are trying to bring down our inflation numbers and making sure the dollar stays strong and the debt to income values according to America across the boards, which is causing a huge increase of interest rates, trying to balance out the difference in inflation. Now, you've seen the inflation happen within the store products now, but it originally started with the housing market back in 2022 in spring, when we saw a huge jump of interest rates, which caused a lot of buyers to jump out of the market, which caused a lot of sellers to sit on the market for a long amount of time. Now, if you want to look at numbers, this time last year, the average days on market was 21. We hadn't quite hit an increase of interest rates this time last year. And your average price sold in all of Utah was $619,000. Flash forward to today. We are now seeing an average day of 58 days on the market, and the average price sold is $597,000. That's almost a $30,000 difference in the housing purchasing price. But if you want to reflect back just what 30 days was telling us, it was 61 days on market, and the average price sold was 566, which means now, because tax season is in, people are starting to get their tax refunds. We're starting to see the market start to go up. In fact, we're starting to see multiple offers on houses, and we're starting to see more of the demand and people coming out of the woodworks and realizing they can still afford a house in this housing market. Now, interest rates, we have been forecasted to see that interest rates are going to stay between the 4.5 and 7% interest rate. We are hoping that people can settle and be happy around the 6% rate. That's neither here or say, because no one can predict what's going to happen with that interest rates. But what we have seen is a difference between 4.5 and 7% rate. So those 2%, 3% rates, not looking like they're coming back anytime soon. But the housing prices have started to reflect the difference in that mortgage monthly payment, because it knocked out a lot of buyers for able to even qualify for houses. The sellers have had to start coming down on the prices. The biggest issue that we have seen in the last 12 months is the communication between buyers and sellers. Because we were in such a high sellers market, sellers could basically ask for anything that they wanted. Now, having to come down from that is hard for the sellers to understand the value of equity and in their home. It's not that the money was ever theirs, but for some reason, sellers are having a hard time understanding that that money is no longer available, or the equity in their home. Now, across the board, statistically, the average homeowner still has over 50% equity in their home, whether that was a increase of equity or actually being able to pay their mortgage down is over 50%, which means we're still standing good. So you want to ask yourself, are we in an actual housing bubble? The definition of a housing bubble is a record low of numbers of the housing numbers from going up here to dropping drastically, which would mean you would pop the housing bubble. We have not seen that statistically happen, for the numbers have not dropped as fast and as quick to cause a definition of a housing bubble. So you have to ask yourself, are we in a housing bubble? Well, for years, I have said, no, we are not in a housing bubble. I have had a lot of buyers say, we are just going to wait for the housing market bubble to pop or to crash. And we have yet to see that. So are we in a seller's market or are we in a buyer's market? We are definitely still in a seller's market if you look at the numbers. Sellers are still able to get what they want. They haven't flatlined. They haven't bottomed up with the equity they have in their homes. We are starting to see multiple offers coming back. Sellers are able to start negotiating and looking through and picking on what they want and choose in order to sell their home. Does that mean that it's still a bad time to buy a house, though? Right now, it is actually a stable time in order to buy a home, making sure that you qualify. Buying a home should not be based on the fact of if the market is right. Buying a home should be if it makes financially sense for you. Because if it makes financial sense for you, honestly, it would be dumb not to buy a house. Because over the landmark years of the average equity that you gain in a home is 12%. We saw an increase of equity in the homes at 23% in 2021, which is something we've never seen that much, which means your home increased by 23% in equity. Across the board, the average is between 6 to 12% equity. So does it make sense to buy a house? Well, we're not seeing a deflation or a decretion in equity over the span of life of buying a home. So if you are renting, I highly recommend that if you can afford to buy, if it makes sense for your income and your family in the situation you're in, it has always been best to own a home, be a property owner, and be building equity into a home. Now, there's always that buyer's remorse of thinking, did I buy at the right time? You will always answer that question honestly and correctly if you realize that you're continually building equity into your home, especially if you put equity into your home. That means remodeling, adding a basement, adding a backyard with a fence, upgrading fixtures, and remodeling whatever you can actually always increases around 20%. So when you turn to sell your house, you could always making 20% on top of how much the fees and things cost in order to remodel. Lots of different reasons why you should buy a house. But if I were to answer the question of if you should buy, it would always be if it makes sense for your family. Let's sit down, let's look at the numbers and see if it makes sense for you. So we're looking here, our mortgage interest rates are going to be back and forth, back and forth. There are a lot of strategies out there that realtors are tapping into, a lot of offers that sellers are giving in negotiation in order to get a stronger offer. And a lot of that is buying down the rates. There's different ways to buy it down. I have my opinions on how to buy down rates. Other realtors may have their opinions. But for me, if you're going to buy down a rate, just buy it down for the entirety of the loan. All works in negotiations, all depends on that. But there are things called 2-for-1 buy down, which are basically asking the sellers to pay for the interest of the home for the 2 years until you get back up to where it would be with the economy and where you purchased the where you not buy, but where you closed your loan on. So for example, if it was at 6%, you were able to move it down to 4% on interest for the first 2 years of the home. It goes to 4, 5, and then sits at 6. You have to qualify for the home at 6% though. So actually buying down the rate, it does cost more money, but buying down the rate, I feel like gives more flexibility. But that is my opinion as a realtor, and other mortgage lenders and realtors have other opinions. Realizing that moving forward in 2023 is still a great economy to be in. Yes, we are the definition of a recession, but when those who aren't buying, you need to jump in and buy. Always an opportunity to build wealth is when you start to see the numbers coming down and the opportunities to jump in. Always an opportunity to sell because you're still having leverage and the ability to have multiple offers. Multiple offers are only going to come in though if the house is priced correctly, which is why hiring a real estate agent like me is going to make the biggest of a difference. again, moving forward, I don't want you as a buyer to feel like you have all control. It is still a seller's market, which means we are holding, we're secure. Our economy seems to be looking pretty well. Now, I'll be honest, I'm still fearful of a lot of things when it comes to the government and the decisions they're making and how we're moving forward as a country. But when it comes to the housing market and living in Utah, especially in Utah County or Salt Lake County, it's still looking like it's going to hold. We had a couple bumps in a row, and that is, we had a couple bumps in the road. And that is because there's a learning curve in educating our clients and buyers and sellers that it's still a good time to buy and sell. Fear and placing fear inside of the client is a big thing, and it does cause a big roller coaster. So when I say that there was a big roller coaster last year, a lot of it had to do with gaining knowledge and feeling secure in the economy that we're in order to move forward. Now we're starting to see more stable numbers, and this is exactly what we wanted in the housing market, is to be more stable and not so volatile, so you had to give away your first child in order to buy a home. I hope this helps with you guys. I'm excited to move forward. If you have any questions, we'll sit down, we can talk about the numbers and see if it makes sense for your family and your situation that you're in. This is Jenny with JennyProRealtor, Better Homes and Gardens. Hope to see you guys next time.